is Raina Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Hey, you guys, welcome to episode 3 of the No Parking Podcast. Today's guest is Kiff. Kiff is a multi-genre music artist, producer, mixing engineer, and he's someone who has been featured on outlets such as BBC Radio, Mad Decent Mixtapes, MTV, and MTV Hive. And I thought he would be really good to come on the show today to talk to you guys about the art of perfecting your craft and how to really stand out in whatever niche you're trying to penetrate. As a musician, he was part of New Jersey's Brick Bandits crew, which was really responsible for helping to bring back Jersey club music back in 2011. And I thought that Kiff was just so inspiring in the way that he talked about his passion for his art and how over the years he's really evolved as a musician and also as a businessman. So let's listen to his episode and hopefully you guys like it. So Kiff, tell me, who were you as like a young child? If I went into your house or something, can you kind of describe to me who you were growing up?
Basically, I was really into a lot of different things. I started singing in the church, and went from there to where I was playing piano and part of a chorus group. I was doing dancing. Mm-hmm. This is all from North Community School of the Arts, though. Really dope school. And then I also was a part of various clubs. I was really into political science at a young age. Liked to play basketball. I was a huge basketball fan. I was really just a person that really just I was a multitasking child at that time. So that's how my parents really wanted me to be. They didn't always want me to just stick with one thing. You know, it's always good to do different things and figure out, where I want to be in life. And then here I am, right?
Do they have a specific career that they were kind of pushing you towards when you were younger?
Well, I told them that I was really interested in airplanes. I remember when I was little, I used to have how my bed was set up. I would have some weird type of toy that kind of mimics like the steering wheel of a plane, and I would place at the end of the bed, and sometimes my mom would catch me just playing around as if I'm flying. So from that, I guess they assumed I was into aeronautical engineering and
engineering, of course,
right?
They put the engineering part in there. Caribbean parents #.
And then it went from that to where I did a speech at my school for some type of program, and they was like, "Oh, your public speaking skills are really good." And I told my friend at my job, and she said, "Oh, he should be a lawyer, or he should be the next president. Oh, he's so handsome, he's so tall," right? But I mean, I guess that's I'm kind of used to it, coming from the Caribbean house. So I'm sure everyone's used to it. It's either lawyer or some type of engineer, some type of doctor or a nurse. Most likely nurse, but yeah.
So then what inspired you to start, being interested in music and doing music production, all that other stuff?
I mean, honestly, for me, it really started from when I used to go to my grandma's house when she used to live in West Orange. And in the mornings, every Saturday mornings, my Aunt Danielle, she would have MTV on, because he used to, play the music videos back then. It was mid-90s, 98, 99-ish. And from really seeing, it's kind of funny, but from seeing the Murder Inc. with Fat Joe, Ashanti, and Ja Rule, just from watching their videos, and I really like the style of music. It was really smooth, kind of R&B, infused with hip-hop that they kind of used to do. It's I don't know, I can't really describe it, but I know it's different from how I guess everyone here at that time was listening to all the hardcore hip hop from the East Coast. And from that's where my passion really just grew from, because I like to hear the sound of the chords and the kicks punching in, and then with the bass. So I started to write a lot of rap music. My parents wasn't really feeling it, so it went from that to where I was producing just a little bit. And then by the time I got into high school, I really got heavy with DJing. And I started to see this trend of where if you're a DJ, you also want to probably produce. So I was like, well, let me catch the curve. Let me catch that curve really quick and learn how to produce as well. So I started to really get into that. And then, I also do singing and rapping as well. So that was a blessing. And then knowing to know how to play the piano back then, that was a blessing. So me being able to infuse all those things together is what really makes Kiff.
So you said that you said you were doing DJing, and then you said maybe that. Oh, let me start that question over. So how did you teach yourself how to produce?
Basically from all YouTube videos. I would go on YouTube, and I know one of the things I had a problem with was maybe working with sub basses. I think any producer could relate to that. Like, that's like the number one instrument that is so difficult to work with, because you want the bass to really hit, you want it to hear it knocking in the club, you want to hear that nice thump that you hear from other producers when they make their music. So I used to just go on YouTube and would literally like type in how to get more punch from a sub bass. And then from me watching that video, then it led me to like a tutorial video that was probably a package of different things to learn about for producing. And I would just sit down and just watch the videos, have my programs open up at the same time. And I would ask advice from, other producers, like on how they would probably do certain things. And I wouldn't really expect them to show me any secrets or tips or anything, but just to get an overview so I could go back to YouTube or go back to the internet or go to the library or even go to Guitar Center and read up on certain books, and I could learn my own method.
So how old were you when you think that you were really starting to master your music?
Honestly, I started to master it probably maybe... I graduated in 2014, so probably 2011, 2012 when I first started going to Rutgers. That's when I really started to take graphs and really started to take this production really serious. Because what I used to do before that, it was mostly what we call Jersey Club remixes.
Okay.
So with Jersey Club remixes, a lot of people think that's producing, but in reality, it's just sampling, because all you're doing is just taking from what someone else already made. It's already been mixed and mastered and published and all, and you just take whatever little parts of their songs and you chop them up and you add a little reverb or some delays, and you make a Jersey Club remix. So I knew that I need to go beyond that point if I'm serious. So I literally took a whole year and a half off from releasing music, from really doing too much major things. Like, I had a lot of tracks that was still coming out and mixtape and blog features going on, so I was able to do it. So I learned to, audio engineer a little bit more, learn how to kind of shape and mold my sounds any way that I would like to, and just think more about how to arrange music, because sometimes we can make those 8-bar, 16-bar loops, but the whole key to it is, well, how are you going to arrange it in the song so it can always be interesting? So every time when it goes into the next segment or something, is something else that's going to be interesting, like another interesting element into your song. So I think that's when I really start to take it serious.
So how did you kind of build your unique sound when it came to your Jersey Club remixes?
Well, a lot of people, I never really paid attention to it, but I know that when people listen to my Jersey Club music, they always say that it's really smooth, has an R&B type of taste to it. And, I have other friends that could make Jersey Club that's like really raw, hardcore, but then when I come into the mix, it just ends up being smooth. I can't help it. It's only because I really love like R&B music. Like, I want to make music that really hits the soul, like it really hits my heart, so I could just be like, wow, like, ooh, these chords, let me keep on going. So yeah, that's what I've really been identified with, like, for so long. Even when I try to step out of that element, it's so hard. And like, I think I tried to make a track. It was a Rihanna remix. I can't remember the song, but when I made the remix, I was trying to go hardcore with it. And then when I got feedback, they was like, yeah, it's hardcore, but we still hear that Kiff, that soulful Kiff that's in there somewhere. So, and I have no shame to it, because at the end of the day, a lot of people come up to me for advice when it comes to like soulful productions, or like a couple of my friends would probably be working on a track, and then I'll say like, hey, like, let me add some chords in, or you should do like a slow breakdown. Let me help you out with that part. So it's a characteristic of mine that I'm like really proud of. Like that's just what I ended up. That's the direction I ended up going. So
I think that's good because a lot of people don't realize how important it is to have your signature style. Do you think that that's something that creatives across the board should really work hard to develop?
yes, and I will say that for music, that's something that's really lacking. I feel like a lot of people are trying to copy off of other people, and sometimes you could tell from a producer they might take someone's style because when they make their next other tracks, they probably say, "Well, since I took his style and it sounded amazing, I got that great feedback. Like, let me try and do that again." And then now it ends up being kind of like, okay, I can easily identify that. Okay, that's you.
Mm-hmm.
But with me, yeah, you could say I like to do a lot of smooth R&B type of things with my music, but every time I approach my whole production board and I'm making my music, I'm always trying to figure out different ways to add in different elements, different samples, arrange things a little bit differently. So every time when you hear my music, it's like, oh, I didn't expect you to do that, or wow, I didn't expect you to do this. And even when I collab with people, I would try to make the song as cohesive as possible to where you can't really tell who's who. And I mean, and that I feel like that plays a huge role into creativeness because when I collab, because like my approach to a track with my friend Rel is
Mm-hmm.
going to be totally different from if I approach a track with a friend of mine, Soldier Keys, or with my friend IQ or
Mm-hmm.
Tricks. It's always going to be a different type of vibe to it. So to be creative is such a huge thing, not even just in music, but just anything in general. It's all about being
Mm-hmm.
creative because you have to always remember there's like millions of other people that's trying to do exactly what you're trying to do. And what's going to make you stand out is whatever you did that's creative or that's unique, which that's what Kiff means actually. So,
Oh, I was gonna ask you. My mother told me that. So I said I'm interviewing someone who goes by Kiff, but his real name is Sean, and she was like, "What the hell does Kiff mean?" And I was like, "So how did you get that name, Kiff?"
honestly, all right, so I started off as Pistol C. This is probably like in middle school. And the reason why I said Pistol C is because my favorite basketball player was Pete Maravich. So I was like, well, Pistol, and I'm like, and C, because that's my last name, initial. So I was like, okay, like Pistol C. But then people was like, okay, Sean, that's kind of corny. So I'm like, okay, how about PC31? I don't know where that came from. I watched a basketball game. I saw my favorite player, Reggie Miller. And I said, okay, how about PC31? Didn't work. Then I said, okay, how about something with just, just one syllable? So I'm like, okay, how about, I started saying Piff, no, Tiff, no, doesn't make sense. Fifth, no. I was like, Kiff. I'm like, okay, but I'll use my last name again. But then people will be like, Sif. And then they'll turn that to syphilis as a joke. So then that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna add the K. And then I go on Google one day, because I'm like, okay, let me make sure like my name doesn't mean something crazy. And I go on Google and then I look it up, and then all I'm seeing is people. It's a West African word that means unique and creative, or it could mean like in a conversation like this is Kiff, like this is hot, or this is like brand spanking new. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what it means like in West Africa. So from that I was like, okay, like I was meant to really have this name, like this was supposed to happen.
That's crazy. So let's kind of get back to the whole focus of our podcast. It's all about putting your dreams in drive. Can you kind of talk to me about what were some of the challenges that you faced as you were building your brand, launching your music? Like what were some of those rocky moments you had early on?
um Initially it was really dealing with the fact that the group of people that I was going to end up working with for Jersey Club, they all kind of grew up together. They've been around each other around a time where Jersey Club was really coming on the come up. And I was more on the side of, I had my street team and we were just promoting for the parties. And yeah, we were around the people that were behind throwing the events, but I wasn't around the people that were actually doing, like actually making the music. So when I first joined Brick Bandits, it was a little bit rocky for me because people just like, okay, like who is this kid? Like where is he coming from? And when some of them start to hear my music, they will say that it's good, but they probably wouldn't want to work with me for whatever reason. I mean, some people told me that, people didn't really want you to be on Big Bandits because they fear of your success. And some people said that, they didn't want you to be on because you wasn't with them from when everything was building up. But regardless of the fact, I still was able to push through. And a lot of people would tell me to always try to stay humble and to be really patient when you're working with people and to never really burn bridges. So I was the one where even if I didn't know if you like me or not, I would still come up to you. If I feel like if we work together and we both could benefit something from working together, then I want to work with you. Trying to think of any other as far as struggles.
Did you ever have any moments where you didn't believe in yourself, like where you didn't know if you should really step out on a limb and really pursue your love of music?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like this happened a lot when I was at Rutgers. Like when I first transferred there, because I was a transfer student. So a transfer student versus being a freshman for Rutgers is like two like different experiences, and I didn't even know that. I'm all thinking like, okay, got my my degree from Essex County College, my 2 years. All right, I'm ready. And I get there and I'm just like, okay, I can't pick my classes like that when I want to have them. So I had like a class like 7 a.m. in the morning, my first semester, and it was a sociology class, and it was a social research class at that. So that was like the worst class. I got a D. I was failing half of my classes my first semester, and it had me really question like, okay, can I really still do this DJing and still do this music and throw in these events? Like, is this a sign of God trying to tell me like, hey, stop doing your music. You need to focus on school because it's what you're failing in. But I mean, in spite of all that, I mean, I just woke up one morning, I think it was probably my second semester when I was there, and I just said to myself like, no, like if my heart is really telling me like I really want to do this music, and it's like, yeah, I'm going through this journey right now of going to school, and yeah, it might take up a little bit of my time, but if it's something that I really want, I will make time for it. So
how did you make time? Like, what were some of the things you did so that you could balance both school and your craft?
Well, how I looked at it as, well, my craft is something that I have a specialty in. So I don't really, yeah, it would be great to put a lot of time into it, but for me to like lay a track down or something like that, it will probably take me about 2 hours or 3 hours versus me having to study and do papers and read books for classes. That would probably take me about maybe half of my whole entire day. So I used to always put the school first and knock out my studying, and then my reward to myself is to work on my craft. Even though that's also work, since it's a passion of mine, it's something that I'm gonna have fun doing. So I always tell people, when you have a passion in something and you have other things that are in the way, you'll know if that passion is really real if you want to make that time, and then when you make that time, you see it as your way of having fun. So like, some people will make free time so they can play their video games or, do their nails or whatever it will be that's like extracurricular, you if you use that for an actual craft that you're working on, it's a passion, you're going to see it in the same light. So I see my video games the same way I would see myself sitting at my desk and I'm working on a beat, basically.
Okay. That's cool, because I feel like a lot of people often struggle with that. Like, they think that they have to wait until school is over and then, graduate and then pursue what it is that they want. But you're saying you can do both at the same time. You just have to balance it.
Yeah, but most definitely, it's like, when it comes to balance, because I know sometimes, like, I think in my mind, like, oh, it's only 24 hours in a day. And this is me from like back in college. I'm like, okay, I wake up around like maybe 8, 9 o'clock, and I have my classes till maybe 6 o'clock. And then at 9 o'clock, though, I have my West Indian student organization meeting at 9. So from 6 to 9, what am I going to really do? But if it's your specialty, if it's your craft, you should be able to get something done, at least halfway done in those 3 hours. And that's what I used to do. It was one time before I went to a whistle meeting, I finished a track between 6 and 9 o'clock, and I went to the whistle meeting and I played it to a couple people through my phone, and they was like, yo, this is really dope. You should really finish this off. So as soon as I came back in at 9 o'clock, it was probably I probably came in around like maybe 11:30. I had to probably finish some work, even though I had class maybe 8 in the morning. I would knock out my work probably by 1 o'clock, and then if that passion in me just makes you go automatically to my desktop and work on the track, and I might be up till 5 o'clock in the morning, but it'll be well worth it, because that track that I did, that was my Sierra Body Party. Who would have known? I didn't expect it to hit the amount of plays that it did when I released it on SoundCloud and get blog features, and built off of that. That's how I met my peoples from LA, Shifty Rhythms, and I did a mix for them, and they booked me to come out and fly out to LA and play for an event my following year after I graduated. So it's like anything could happen, so you just have to try and make the time for it.
You said that all that stuff led to, it's funny how you talked about that, because you never know what can come out of that moment of inspiration, right? What other type of successes did you see as you really started to focus in, during your college years, on being the producer that you are?
My first moment, honestly, was probably it was my second year at Essex County College, and that's when Sam Tiba from France and the Club Chevelle group, they were doing club mixtapes, and that was basically like the beginning stages of this new form of Jersey Club being exposed to the world. Because a lot of people think that Jersey Club just now is blowing up, and it's like it's been around for a while, but it's just a new wave, like the new generation. So that's like me, Slink, J Hood, Rel, Natus, and Fresh. Like that, it's just that we were the new generation of, Jersey Club pioneers to kind of like bring Jersey Club back onto the worldly stage. So Tamil and them, they did theirs already from back then, and then we were the new ones. So at that time, I was getting on different club tapes. Mad Decent did a club mix that was for like Brick Bandits, and I was on there as well. So that's when I started to notice, like, okay, like people actually like pay attention to my music. It's not just people that's in my community or that's in the North diaspora, right? And then I reached out to this guy in Czech Republic. It's his label called Mean Bucket, and I did my EP. I did an EP with them, and they had a group of artists from Europe that did remixes on my original track. And after that, that's when I met a friend of mine, Ultra Demon. He's from the C-punk world. It's like a whole different genre of music. I can't really describe it, but just know like it's a lot of bubbles. It's like a water wave, kind of like Sonic the Hedgehog. Like the music that you hear in the background, like the background music, it's similar to that. So we did a track together, and that blew up on Mass Appeal and Exhilarate magazines. Can't remember if it was both of them or one of them. And that's when people started to really pay attention to my side of how I would make Jersey Club. And then he said, hey, let's make an EP together. So we made an EP together, and the top single on there is called You're So Wet. And that was a single that he sent to me, and I kind of chopped it up, added little different things into it. And we ended up making a music video for it. And I remember him messaging me, and he was saying, all right, I'm sending this to MTV. So, let's hope and pray that they'll take it and they'll blog it and they'll put it on TV. I'm like, all right, cool. So I didn't hear anything from him for a couple months. And then he sent me the link for the MTV Hive. That's like their blog that they have for like underground artists. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm like, now the attention's really growing. And all of a sudden, people started messaging me the following morning, just like, yo, I just saw your song on MTV. Like, this is crazy. Like, who would have thought that Jersey Club would be on MTV and everything? The only down part to it was that our faces wasn't in the video. It's like a whole lot. It's like a whole bunch of cool visuals with dolphins swimming everywhere, whatever. But from that's where it really kind of started. Like, I really started to embrace the whole idea of like, okay, like I think people really do like like how I make my Jersey club music. So from there, honestly, it was just more just doing my own single releases. Like I mean, I used to send out my tracks to different blogs to get releases, and I know at that time I was probably a little bit too impatient for certain releases. I probably could have waited that extra month or so. But for me, it's just like, if there's a song I really want people to hear, like, I really want you to hear it, because
What do you mean by that? Like, you were impatient? Do you mean like the track wasn't ready, or?
It was because, like, it takes a long time for these blogs to sometimes get back to you and say, like, okay, like, we'll blog your song, and then you have to go through the whole process of, like, them asking for, like, extra information, and then they'll give you the release date so you can package it and everything. And sometimes it doesn't even come out on that day. So for me, from them taking so long, I didn't really know the whole method of how blogs really work at that time. I would just say, well, my listeners are more important to me anyway. So if I tell them that I want to release this song this month and the blog is taking too long, then they're just going to have to take the L. And I'm going to release it for my listeners. And honestly, that's how Body Party really blew up for me. And I did a Whitney Houston remix, Want to Dance with Somebody. That was another big track for me as well, because it happened around the time Whitney Houston passed away. R.I.P. to Whitney. But yeah, I mean, I think that's really about it as far as and I did a couple mixes for this radio show in UK. She's moved forward now. She's over at BBC Radio now, but I did a mix for them over there. I started to see a lot of stuff on Twitter with BBC Radio, because what BBC Radio does is when your song gets played, they have multiple accounts where they'll tweet about your songs being played. So at that time, I didn't know it was a big deal until my friend Rel last year. He had a song that was played on BBC Radio, and when he tweeted about it, then everyone was going crazy, and I was like, wait, I'm like, oh, I didn't know, like, this is like a huge thing, you know. But as far as, like, you know, how I was able to get through all of that, I mean, it's just consistency, staying humble. You got to do a lot of networking.
How did you build? I wanted to ask you about that, because you talked about how you seem to have a lot of people within the I don't want to say industry, within like the genre, right?
Right.
How did you build those relationships, and how did you kind of make collaborations happen or whatever? Like, how did you kind of build your relationships with people?
It was really just off the strength of luck, honestly. Like, I would just really send them a message, because I mean, some people, how they would network with people, sometimes they'll kind of do it in a way where it's like you could tell, like, okay, like, you're only asking me certain questions or building conversation because you want something. What is it that you want? So I said to myself, well, okay, I wanted to do a remix for this guy named Ofex. I think it's like probably one of my first like official remixes that I did, like, for someone that's outside of New Jersey and outside of the country. And when I hit him up, I kind of told him in a way where I went straight to the point. I was like, look, I want to remix your song, but I know it's going to benefit both of us, because you're going to get a taste of Jersey Club in your realm of your fans, and then I'm going to get a taste of your juke work for my fans. And then in that way, we'll mutually benefit from it, because now our fans are intertwining with one another. So I'm taking some of your fans, and then now you're taking some of my fans. And just doing like things like that. I'm always thinking about, well, how can I really benefit this person if I want to get whatever I want to get from them? And that's what sometimes people end up missing. Sometimes we end up focusing on ourselves too much and what we need, and we're not really, like, we already know that because we are ourselves, so we know what we want. So it's like, why not put that focus towards trying to figure out, well, what does this person that I want from them, what do they need? Like, what can I do that the shoes that I have on, how can I use that to benefit this person? So, I mean, from that, I mean, you could get a lot of places, like, just off the strength of that, or just even, giving someone credit when it's due. You know, like, if I hit up a graphic designer and I want him to make me a logo, but I don't want him to charge me a whole lot of money, you know, I mean, it's not always going to work all the time. If you really have to pay full price for something, it's always good to do it that way, because you would expect the same for yourself. But let's just say if it wasn't that case, right? You probably want to throw in a little bit of stuff, like talk about his pictures. Like I usually, someone that I found a while ago to possibly make a logo for me, but it didn't really work out because I didn't really like what they did. But what I did was I went on his page, I went on his website, I went on his Twitter, looked at what he was tweeting about. I looked at the different pictures that he was sharing, and I tried to figure out ways, okay, like how does this like why do I like this picture? So I was really like detailed with him and everything, but it was really like a genuine, authentic, feeling, because I'm just like, yo, I really like these pictures. I just had to go beyond of thinking whatever I want and try to figure out how to make this person feel good, because whatever they're gonna do for me is gonna make me feel good.
Yeah.
So even just from doing that, you can end up having someone that wants to work with you and do little things for you. And then it might end up going from where you're paying a full price, where you guys are building a friendship now. You're building a personal relationship. And now it's like, no, it's okay. I got you. This time it's all fine. I'll make that graphic for you.
Kiff dropping bombs on us. One of the things that you talked about, you really talked about how you would release your music, right? Did you release on SoundCloud or YouTube? What was the best channel that you used to really help grow your audience?
So basically, I was going by whatever was trending. So when I first was doing Jersey Club, MySpace, everyone was on MySpace.
Oh, I forgot about that MySpace. Oh my God, bringing it back.
And that was like that was literally like the realm for promotions.
That's so true.
Like
People would have like their little MySpace pages, and
Exactly.
you go listen to the songs. Oh my God, I remember that. Okay.
So I used to do a lot of my releases on there, and then once I hear everyone going to Facebook, it was like there was a weird time interval, like before people started to figure out that SoundCloud was going to be like, that's where you need to release your songs. It was kind of like that awkward moment in between where people are transitioning from MySpace to Facebook. And I remember some people, they was like releasing tracks, like just have like a picture, like, like the video, like you make a music video in a sense, but just like a picture, a still picture, and this music playing in the background. And then once I found out about SoundCloud, I think I was kind of a little bit late in the wave, because there were some of my friends that already had a SoundCloud. They already had like thousands of followers, and I'm like at 50 or 80. But as you start to release music, and then I start to really use the SoundCloud community a lot, I would share my music with different groups, with different, they have like little tabs for like groups you could share your music in, or different communities. And then I start to follow people back and messaging people, giving them props on their tracks. They'll give me props on mine. So, I mean, and it's like, I'm not saying like this method is like the golden method for anyone to do, because it doesn't really work for everyone. It's, it's just a matter of just give it a try. Why not? The worst that can happen is either no one listens to your music, or someone says that it sucks, or whatever. But it doesn't matter. That's one person out of how many people in the world that you didn't reach out to. So it was more of like, I was just always going by like trend, like, But as of right now, SoundCloud is having their issues with copyrights infringements and everything, and people remixing commercial based songs. So a lot of people are trying to figure out, okay, where do we go next? But I think that's just a way of just encouraging people to just come out with more original content. So you can't, I think that whole wave of making a remix for someone and then that could help you blow up and go on tour, I really think it's really overrated. It doesn't really show to, I mean, I guess maybe the consumers, it doesn't really matter, because, they're not thinking at such a really high level of music. But I know for like producers or people behind the scenes, it doesn't really show that you're really an authentic, true producer, which is a problem we've been having a lot in the music world. But
I think that kind of goes around to a lot of industries, and this is something that we were talking about earlier. You posted on Facebook, I was stalking your Facebook, a few days ago about, it was an article about how this is a generation of DJs who are good at social media and marketing, but aren't really good at music production.
Right.
How important do you think it is to really master the skill set within your craft? So let's say a photographer really wants to be a big name photographer, you have to really understand the art of photography, because then there's a whole bunch of like social media photographers but not real photographers. What do you kind of like, maybe just talk about why you shared that article and what it made you think about?
Well, I feel like it's almost, I kind of look at it like this. Like the type of people that no one can really stand are the ones that talk so much junk on Facebook or behind their computer screens, and in person they're not really about it. So I feel
Okay.
like that's how it is with like anything in the industry. So for music, for example, when I shared that article, I could really relate to that because there's a lot of those what they call bedroom producers. So they're just like behind the screen, so you don't really know how they're making it or what they're doing to make it. But whatever they do, it sounds really good. But the problem with that is that people are relying on what we call as like sample loop packs. So basically,
Okay.
it's something that someone already made, and you just take it, put in your arrangement of your song, and then make it seem like it's yours.
Okay.
But what a lot of people don't realize is that yeah, you could do all these things, and that could probably help you blow up, and you get your tours, and you get your money, you could feed your kids, you're out the hood, whatever your goal is from doing that. But at the end of the day, let's just say you blow up to the point where a laptop company that maybe makes gaming laptops and wants to start making laptops for producers, well, they want to promote to that, and they have you say, hey, we want to record you doing a session with our product, and you show us how you made this such and such track or this such and such track. What are you gonna do then? You know, because
Take
sometimes it's like what, you're gonna hop on the keyboard and just be like, okay, well, these are the chords I play. It's like, nope, that's not the right chords. I'm pretty sure it's this one. Nope, that's not the right chords. Or sometimes I saw a video one time where someone was showing how they produced a song, and he has so much thumbs down on the YouTube because it got to a part in this where they showed the screen of the arrangement of the song, and it says in the title for one of the samples the actual name of the sample loop that it came from. So when it comes to things like that, it blocks the real true musicians and artists. It blocks the true photographers and videographers, because I'm seeing this with people that do videos and do photography. They will show me a picture that they supposedly did, and it'll look amazing. But then when I find someone that maybe got a photo shoot from them, I'm looking at their pictures, I'm like, wait, like, why does it look so foggy and fuzzy? It looks like my point and shoot camera that I have at home, but they're charging $500. So it's like things like that. You're blocking blessings and opportunities for people that really do take these things and really serious and have been practicing their thousands and thousands of hours to perfect this craft.
So we have a question from, we have people who are submitting questions beforehand. So someone has a question. His name is David. I'll just shout you out, David. David, our co-producer, has a question for you, okay? His question was, so he's also a musician, and he wants to ask you, about the state of New Jersey music. Do you think more Jersey artists are collaborating? And he kind of talks about the success of acts, like, you think about Dougie F and Fetty Wap. So Dougie's from Orange, Fetty Wap's from Patterson. Do you think they're giving Jersey a good, like, spotlight?
To be honest, there's nothing wrong with their music. It's really, I like Fetty Wap's catchy hooks, and Dougie F. I mean, when I saw him perform at one of the Thread events 2 years ago, that's when I became a huge fan of him. It's hard for me to really answer because there might be a lane open for that particular type of artist, but I know from personal experience and from me observing the Jersey artists around, I know that they don't feel as though that's really opening a door for them, because they feel like that's opening a door for this whole commercial type of hip hop that we listen to now. Like, this is really trap, like kind of like I just call it music that you just want to hear in the club. I feel like that's what a lot of people kind of gear towards too. But the Jersey artists here are really like boom bap, really like old school, hardcore of lyrics. I really want to be in depth with their lyrics and actually have like meaning to it and share like real experiences. So, and I mean, you're always going to have your, I guess what they call trap artists. You're always going to have that. But I know New Jersey, like when you go to certain events or, it's really about the boom bap, and it's really about the soulful, like neo soul like type of feel. So I'm not too sure if Fetty Wap and Dougie F is really opening up in opportunities. They probably are, but it's not really going to benefit someone that I may know that's probably been rapping for about 5-6 years, and they're really good lyrical wise, but they don't know how to do party music. So it's kind of half and half. It's like it's there, and you better hurry up and go and catch it before it goes away, and then. Or, you know, you got to still keep doing what you're doing, is keep pushing, keep trying, because Fetty Wap and Dougie didn't open up that form of a lane for you.
Do you think that then you need to have a lane opened for you in order to make it?
In Jersey, you don't have to, but it would be of your best interest if it was, because the problem with Jersey, like I tell people all the time, Jersey is missing a major radio station, because the problem is that we're listening to people like Funkmaster Flex and Hot 97, Power 105. There's nothing wrong with them. Like I listen to Power 105 every morning, so it's all fine and good. But what that is doing is that's creating a perception in your mind that these are the type of artists you should be looking for, is from whatever they're playing, right? But you're missing a whole plethora of like artists that do boom bap, that really do speak real things. Like it's kind of like if you like Kendrick Lamar, you're gonna love these artists that are here. Basically, that's how I kind of see it. But we need our own major radio station in order to broadcast this talent that's here in Jersey. So in that way, New Jersey as a whole ends up creating its own lane. Because I can, like, the amount of talent that's here, and I tell people all the time, we literally could be another ATL. Because that's what ATL did. ATL said, well, okay, I think it's like back like this around, you know, when Outkast was coming out. And it was kind of like, all right, it's the East Coast against the West Coast, and everyone's just not really trying to take the down south serious. So they all literally came together and made their own music videos, made their own record labels, pushed out their own records, and then had MTV interested into coming into ATL and, you know, exposing this talent, and that's how we ended up seeing Outkast. So it's like, it's possible that New Jersey could really literally like make its own lane and have its own events, have its own concerts, summer jams. Because we have the Prudential Center, we have the...
But everybody comes to New Jersey then.
Exactly.
To do that. Even Summer Jam, when I went to Summer Jam, when they were doing all the promos for it, they were saying like, they didn't really say that the MetLife Stadium was in New Jersey. It was all like, welcome to New York Summer Jam, but it really was in New Jersey. I just thought that was really ironic. Sorry.
Exactly. And what's funny about that too is that supposedly I think they had Fetty Wap like perform like at the very, very, very end when people were leaving.
He performed at the festival stage, and then he came on at the end, but people were all trying to get out. So I heard him as I was leaving, but I don't know. What did you hear about that?
No, yeah, I just heard that like everyone was leaving, and they was like, "Oh wait, Fetty Wap," and like some people like paused, like, "Oh crap, it's Fetty Wap. Hold up, let's go back." And then some people just like, "All right, we're already out."
Yeah,
like
they really branded it as like a New York event because Hot 97 is New York based, but they didn't really say, "Yo, we're in Jersey. Let's give love to like Jersey artists," which could have been good for Jersey.
Exactly.
I think it's so interesting how you talked about how we're missing like a huge radio station. When you think about it, I think Jersey in general just gets lumped into either New York or Philly. But
exactly.
You're saying that there's a unique sound in New Jersey that's really not appreciated as much?
Exactly, because I mean, in New York, I mean, yeah, you could kind of say like we're kind of compared to what I guess like maybe Joey Badass might be coming out with, but that's New York, you know? Like I still feel like we have our own kind of like taste to it. Even like a lot of people don't know, like there's a couple studios that's in New Jersey where industry artists come through and they record, or they come to those studios because they know that there's producers there that make these boom bap type of beats and want to work with them. You know, a lot of people didn't know that, you know, Fabulous, you know, he did a couple of his recordings for his most recent album here, like in New Jersey. You know, and then sometimes people forget about our, you know, originators. Like, you know, you had Wu-Tang Clan, you had Queen Latifah, and all those. And it's like, this is the sound that we're just kind of known for. And I mean,
Naughty by Nature, right? Weren't they
Exactly.
from East Orange?
Exactly.
I'm not even a music head, and I know that. Okay.
Exactly. And it's just like I really appreciate the artists that are here that I know of that really embrace that culture and still keep it alive, because I mean that's honestly keeping hip hop alive, honestly. All this trap music that's going on. It's cool. I make it myself, it's nice catchy hooks, but it's not gonna last that long. So I mean, to answer the question about Dougie F and Fetty Wap, I don't know. I'm not too sure if it really. I feel like it's just a temporary opening of opportunities for other people. But that whole wave with how the music industry is going, everyone's trying to figure out ways to leave this whole, catchy hooks and really dope beats to make your head bop. A lot of people are trying to figure out what's going to be the next wave. So
let's talk about you. What's your ultimate dream? I know, like right now, you currently have like your own like 9 to 5, and you're still doing music part time, right?
Right.
What's your ultimate dream then?
My ultimate dream, when people ask me, it's really hard. Like I don't like to give it a title, but I just say it like this: I just picture myself being in a studio, in a major recording studio, whether it's LA or New York or wherever, or Miami. I like to be in Miami. That'd be kind of cool. But and I'm like, there's 3 floors in the studio, and it's maybe like 6 different studio rooms. I'm in studio room A on the first floor, and I'm currently finishing up recording Kanye's album. Then all of a sudden I get a text message or a reminder like, hey, like you got to go up to the 3rd floor because Beyonce's up there and she wants you to take a listen to her album and let her know like what you think about it. And then I go up to the 3rd floor. I'm like, all right, Beyonce. I'm like, this is dope. Wait, but who is that guy that did that little background thing in the background? I think he was a little bit sharp. He's not here? All right, cool. Hey, Ben, just let me hop in the booth real quick and record this for her. All right, cool. All right, Beyonce, I'll see you later. All right, now I'm heading down to Studio C and I'm with Drake now. And now, like, we're working on a beat. Like, I kind of see myself, like, just having multiple shoes and I'm just doing different things, like, in the background and in the front line as well. Because I would like to see myself, like, as an artist and, like, performing, like, a couple of my songs and everything to the public. But mostly background work is what I really like to do. I really like to be one of those people that's responsible for kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together, or mixing and audio engineering. I can see myself being in seminars talking about mixing, audio engineering, and even outside of music, having mentorship programs, with like young Black males, so I can also so I can help them find their passions as well, because I feel like that could sometimes get mixed up when it comes to young Black males, because all they really see on TV is like people doing music or being like a politician or being a lawyer, but it's like there's a whole lot of other things that you could do outside of that. You don't always have to just always go down these routes. But I do see a lot of young people trying to do the music, and in reality, there's not enough room for everyone. So I see myself doing a mentorship program that's geared towards finding your passions.
So what do you think is stopping you? Or let me ask you this. Do you think you're on the road to making that dream come true? Are you dream driving? Are you dream parking? Let me know.
I'm dream driving, and it's like I always want to make sure I do something where I can make a difference in the world. So it's kind of like, I have a passion in music and everything, but I did give myself like 2 years, like to really make this really happen, to where I'm not only doing what I love, but I'm also able to live from doing what I love. And if it doesn't really get to that point, I mean, I haven't really thought so much about plan Bs or plan Cs that much, because a lot of people tell me when you think about those plans, most likely those plans might end up occurring. So I always try to just keep my head straight, keep it focused, keep that car in drive. I might be going off the road a little bit. I'm going to have my little turns and mountains to climb and all, but I know at the end of it all, as long as I know that I tried my best, that I won't have any regrets. So sometimes you might not even get to your dreams, but as long as you know that you tried it, you shouldn't have any regrets.
Do you ever fear success? Because I know this is something that might be a ironic term, but I think a lot of times, even myself, even starting this podcast, I was so caught up on like, what if it gets like really big and then like I don't really want it to get that big? Or like, have you ever kind of feared the what will happen if you do achieve those dreams?
I never really thought about it so much because, like, I mean, I think if it was outside of music, I probably would. But from being in music and then like seeing how the music industry is moving and like all these kind of like fake actors, you know, kind of like being placed in the front line, I'm just like, well, if they're being placed in the front line and some of them are still able to handle that, I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna do with me, with someone that's like, okay, like he actually knows how to play the piano a little bit and he knows how to make his own chords and sound design and everything. So I feel like I feel like by the time it happens, like right now, I have a little bit of fear of just like not being able to possibly handle having different roles in the music industry. But I feel like as that time gets there, because I'm still learning, I'm still practicing, I'm still processing like new information, all these different roles. I feel like by the time it happens, I'll be ready. I'll be ready to go. TTG.
What does TTG mean?
Oh, train to go.
Oh, okay. What do you think about people who talk a lot of shit, I guess? Well, let me make this peachy. What do you think about people who talk a lot but never actually execute upon what it is that they want to do?
People like that, you're always going to end up from step one. You're always going to end up at step one because it's like there's so many other people that's trying to do exactly what you're trying to do, and they probably talked about exactly what you talked about probably an hour ago, but guess what? They've already implemented it, and you're still talking about it. So I have this thing with people where if I know that we had a long discussion about what plans you want to do and how I could help you, and maybe how it could help me, most of the time it doesn't really help me, but I like to help other people, especially when it comes to mixing or mastering songs. And then you'll say, all right, so next week I'm gonna send you this and that. We're gonna get to work. I don't chase people down. I don't remind you. I don't do anything, because if you really do believe in that plan, then you'll be implementing it as soon as we get off the telephone. But if you're just sitting on it and you're just waiting for something to happen to give you a sign to implement it, you're always going to be back at step one. I mean, I have that problem myself. I was supposed to release this track that I did for one of my singles. It was kind of like a Jersey Club remix. And I made it a long time ago, but I didn't want to come out with it because I was waiting for like, okay, like what blogs can I hit up? Like I need to get some emails, and maybe after I do this LA trip, then maybe, you know, I could do it then. And then, you know, I just woke up one morning, I just said to myself, you know what? I'm like, why am I continuing to wait? And wait, and I keep talking about it. I'm telling my girlfriend all the time about like, yeah, I'm getting ready to release it this time, wait for this person. And then she told me, she was like, you know, why don't you just do how you were doing before? You were releasing your music whenever you were ready to, at the right time, where you were able to do all your promotions and reach out to whoever you need to reach out to and get your numbers. And once I did that, I mean, that was actually a really good thing, and that's why I came out. I think it's my song On the Low Part 2.
I love that song.
Thank you. But I mean, it's just all about, you know, as soon as you think about it, just implement it. So like as soon as I thought about logos, like I was already looking up people and trying to figure out, okay, like how does this person do? How does this person do? Okay, you got your logo made by them. Oh, what's their email address? And I did all that in one day, versus where I know people that will say they're going to get a logo made and we're going to reach out to people, and then you hit them back and they didn't do anything. And then they're like, oh, yeah, I forgot. Okay, I'm going to do it now.
So we talked a lot about this whole process of putting our dreams in drive and your journey, but I think something that you also have to take into consideration is having a good support system. So who's in your corner, and how important is having those people in your corner?
Well, my corner is very small, but it's mostly really like my girlfriend. I mean, that's already, you know. But my friends like Rel and Youngin, Tricks, IQ. It's kind of like basically like all my like Brick Bandits family, and then I have like my Shifty Rhythms family out in LA. Shout out to them, and Brownies and Lemonade. Shout out to Kush. But it's really important for me to have all those people in my corner, because sometimes you might end up steering away from like whatever that you're doing that people love that you do, and sometimes you need those friends in your corner to tell you like, hey, like this is what people really like that you do, so continue to do this, because they might end up seeing the light at the end of the tunnel while you're seeing darkness for whatever reason it could be. So it's always good to have that whole support system with you. Or in my mind, I would tell Rel, hey, when we both blow up, you might have your own realm of people in LA, and I have my own realm of people of LA. Why? Who's to say that we can't put those people together and make and do something awesome, Or like, what if I had some friends that was out in New York, and you have your friends out in LA, and we want to throw a huge event and bring you guys over here, or vice versa. So having that support system is huge, because you have your network of friends, and then the people that's in your support system, that's another network of friends, but then they have another network of friends. And then some reason the world is so small, so those network connections might just intertwine so well. So you may never know. But trying to do music by yourself and not have a support group, it's impossible, because you need people to have different shoes. And that can even be with like photography, because there's some people that's really good with photography, but they don't know how to make a website. But if you have someone that's in your support group that can make a website, they could do that for you. And then you might have someone that's kind of like could be your PR to get you like, bookings and stuff like that, and make your work look presentable online. So a support group is huge, because you can't do everything on your own. It's impossible.
A lot of creatives, right? They love their work, but at the same time, they want to make money from it. What are some ways that you really monetize your brand? And do you have any other tips for other creatives on how to monetize themselves?
Well, the first things first is that when it comes to how can I explain it? When it comes to like whether it's either music or photography, I'm trying to think of the word in my mind. It's a word that people use when you write articles for newspaper. Freelancing. Yes, yeah. There you go. Okay. So when you're doing like freelance type of work, you have to understand that when you first start off, you have to do it for free. Like that's like the number one rule. You have to do it for free, because I'm not going to trust someone that says, hey, I made graphics and it's day one, but I charge $80. Like, no, not going to go to you. I'd rather pay $100-something for someone else that I know that's been doing it. So you always have to start off for free. So when I was doing mixing and recordings for people, I was always doing it for free, because then what I get in return is experience. Because when you start off, you're not going to be your best. That's not going to happen. So with me doing the free mix downs, people were willing to come over and let me record them. And sometimes I would have moments where I will say like, hey, like I'm just going to try out like 3 different microphones on you, because this is my first time working with a different voice besides mine. And then from there, I kind of started off really small. I was like, okay, I'll probably do like $50 for a mix, or $50 to do master a track. And then I got a chance to master someone's entire mixtape, and it was going to be released on a record label. And, we went into negotiate, because at that point now I could go into a little negotiation now, because they've heard some of my work already. So now I probably squeeze in and charge a little bit more. So from that, I got paid like $150. And then now it's getting to the point now where now I can start raising my prices even higher. And it's like, sometimes it's kind of like you have to kind of have a feel. You have to have a feel for it, because you don't want to have, because who's to say that after maybe you mixed down maybe 30 clients you did mix downs for them for like 50, and then now since you feel like you did those mix downs, now you could probably charge about maybe 150 or 180 for a mix. And sometimes that will work, and sometimes it won't work. So you just gotta kind of like feel for it. So I guess like every client that you end up meeting with is kind of, you have to kind of look at it as situational, you know, because sometimes you really could have someone that might end up throwing at you a price, and it might be a lot more than what you usually offer. But that doesn't mean after that now you're gonna just keep charging that price. So it's more of a situational thing. And then once you get a website going and you know you start kind of like turning your services into a brand, then that's when you'll be able to really like put whatever set prices that you want, because now everything is looking more legit. It's not just through, you know, personal messaging or through texting, or because I know this person and what, you know, whatever it is, you know, once you have a website and everything, then you can start, and you can use that money too to build those things. Don't it's try not to use so much of your personal money to enhance your business. Use your personal money to invest, build that foundation. Like just like how like I use my money to get, you know, I try my best to get as much advanced gear as I can to make that as my pitching, you know, to someone to say like, hey, like this is why you probably want me to mix it down, because I use universal audio plugins. That's like analog. It's like basically like an emulation of analog plugins.
I'm such a good producer.
Yeah. But you know, like just like doing like little things like that, and then whatever money I build from those clients, and I'll probably use that money and build the website, or I'll use my personal money and build it now, and then use that money from the business to enhance it a lot more, or use that money to get email lists to send out for promo emails for people to come to my website. So it's all about, I feel like it's all situational when it comes to kind of like monetizing your business, but you always have to think of your relationship with your customers. Always think about them first. They're important. They're way more important than some blog that could help share your business and share it to the whole world. No, your initial clients, your initial consumers that was there from you from the beginning, those people are very, very important, because they're kind of like the sample of what it will be like when you go at a higher level of, you know, other consumers outside of wherever it started from.
And if you do a good job with them, then they'll be great advocates for you with other people, and they'll share your word. And those, like as you were saying, like your clients and your customers could be your biggest sources of future revenue too.
Exactly.
So along this way, I know you've been doing. So wait, do you charge people now for mixes and stuff?
I charge now, but I know I haven't really done too much advertising to have people to start charging, but it's only really because of like my own self. Like I'm trying to focus on, because I'm only 24. I keep saying 23. I'm 24. I turned 24 in October, but I'm still young, so I'm still trying to get wherever I need to get to with my own music. So I don't want to promote too much to have so many clients coming in, and then like trying to meet their deadline dates, but then I have deadlines to meet as well. So I kind of just, it's more of like, if you see my post and maybe I posted like 2 months ago, but you remember and you hit me up to mix down the track. Okay, cool. All right. Well, then this is how much I charge.
But do you want to get to that point where you have clients, like, or is your? I guess I'm just trying to understand. So, do you more want to be the artist, or then do you also want to build like the business part of it? I just want to know. I'm just
like I want to do both at the same time, but I just know that, like, okay, all right, so here's my thing. When I tell people when I want to do mix downs, like they want me to do a mix down for them, give me dates. If you give me a date, then it's like whatever I have to do that's like for myself, I can always work that around.
Okay.
But and that's just for now. But I mean, I can't really say if I was to be like signed like to like an official label, and then at that point, you know, it might just have to be like, okay, I got to work around whatever deadlines that they want me to have.
So then, I mean, so you're in transition. Then I'm gonna say you're in transition, right?
Right.
You're figuring it out. But along the way, like, what's the best piece of business advice that you think you've received that's helped you make these decisions?
Honestly, being humble, because being humble also plays a role in how like you would conduct yourself online and also in person. I know sometimes when I'm doing my mix downs for people, and I always come into the problem where it's about the quality of their audio. So I usually have the problem with people where they'll expect me to kind of like make magic out of something where it's just like, this is really terrible. But but what I learned though was,
Do you tell them like this is bad, or do you?
well, because I mean, like what I learned was that, and I read it in this book, the 5 steps to networking. It's something about like being a better person with networking. And what it said was you want to try and not give off negative vibes to someone that you're working with. So I would take it as like, all right, this track is terrible. Well, the vocal recording itself is terrible, and I can't make magic out of it. But I'm an engineer. They're not an engineer, so they don't know. So what I would do is, instead of me saying that it was a terrible recording, I would say like, oh, like I'm like, this track is really dope or whatever, but I'm having a hard time trying to get the vocals to really blend into the 2-track mix. So maybe you should try and do another re-recording in a more tighter space. Or if you can't, maybe you could just come over here and we could re-record it, because I know and you know that this track has a lot of potential to really sound really good. So I want to make sure I'm giving you the best service that I could give you for this song for it to really pop. So when I say stuff like that, then it's like they'll take more of an approach, like, okay, they're not on defense mode, they're not defensive, they're okay, all right, whoo,
Yeah,
okay,
that's a good life technique too, like with anybody, like know how to communicate.
I mean, you talked about it on your Snapchat.
Yeah,
this morning I saw your Snapchat. I was like, oh wow.
I know. I was trying not to be negative. Sometimes I can go into things like with like the whole like negative. Like you don't mean to say it, but like your first thought could be something that could be perceived as negative. So just sometimes pausing before you speak and thinking about how is that person going to receive what I'm saying. I mean, I've been 2 days in. It's been pretty good.
Exactly.
My life has been calm.
Or even when I look at I went to Applebee's 2 years ago, right over in on Route 22, and the waitress, like, she was really rude, like terrible. She didn't even get my order right or anything. So the manager came over and saw and basically like dissolved the whole situation. Everything was all fine and good. But what really caught my attention was when the manager came back, because I wasn't really feeling the manager either, because I feel like I didn't win, right? But what the manager did though, when we was getting ready to leave, she came back again. It was like, okay, is everything okay? Is everything good? Did you guys enjoy it? You make sure you got everything on your menu, right? Okay, I apologize. I'm sorry for this experience. And that's just for me to say, like, how important, once again, it is to really have that relationship, to build those type of relations with your consumers. Like, when you bring that type of an attention, I can end up having a huge smile on my face, and it could be something that was completely my fault, but because you did that and you switch it around to where it was a negative situation, you try to make it more positive. I went back again. I mean, I haven't gone back to Applebee's and God knows when, but
So on social media, people can follow you at Kiff on Twitter and Instagram, and if they're your friends or on Facebook, they know that sometimes you have opinions, and you I just say that because I like reading your posts, like especially when you get really in depth about, like, you were a political science major at Rutgers, so you're not like some dumb guy, like you're educated. I'm saying all of this to say that what inspires you to kind of put your opinions out there on social media, and is there one experience you had that you want to talk about and like why you did that?
All right, so it's funny because like even my Brick Bandits team, like they talked about me and like how I do my rants and everything. And I mean, the reason that I do it is really based off of like what I see on my timeline. So like there was one post that I made. I can't remember what it was specifically, and my girlfriend was like, she was trying to figure out like, why did I make that post, But I guess that's based off of what she sees on her timeline, and then when she saw my timeline, she's like, "Yo, what in the world? Like, how many people on here did you have on here? This is so, I guess, like, not realizing what's going on in the world. You know what I mean? So I usually kind of do it. I usually make those posts to kind of like educate people on certain topics that maybe they were kind of feeding off of from like a Facebook post, but it might not really be accurate, or lifestyles that we're doing that we may feel it's okay, or the TV is telling you that it's okay, but it's really not okay. Or one of the brands, which one was one that you read of?
Aisha Curry, was it that one?
Aisha, wait, I screenshotted some. Hold on, let me look. Let me go to my photos. It wasn't a rant. I don't really see it as a rant. I just see it as you putting your opinion out there and stating it.
Was this the one I made yesterday?
Is this the one about like women and not having? Wait, did I delete it? No. Okay, you did one. We talked about one about how you said the whole music industry is just fake to me. Having fake producers prance around touring, it's sick. It's shaking my head. Or that one was interesting because I think it's good to see that stuff because it shows that you are somebody who's invested in your craft and you're invested in like the world too. And I know like I don't have it in front of me, but I know you did one too about like even when the whole like Paris stuff was happening. Let's talk about that one.
So with that one, a lot of people was making this post like, oh, like the U.S. and the French are so united and paying so much attention to what's going on in France, but what about all the other attacks? Or what about when Nigeria was attacked by Boko Haram and like, and no, not Nigeria, Kenya, when they went into the school and they killed all those students. And in my mind, I'm like, well, you guys are kind of just paying attention to one post, and you have to understand the history of the French, and then understand like what they're actually doing now. Like, yeah, they do probably have like a couple countries in Africa that they're kind of sort of like occupying, but they're kind of occupying it in the sense where they have their troops out there. Because I think there was like 2 weeks later there was an attack either in I'm not going to say the African country because I don't want people to reference for me, but from whatever country there was where they did, it was Cambodia, I believe. I believe it's either Cambodia,
Cambodia's not Africa,
No, Cameroon.
Okay.
Yes, Cameroon. Okay. So they had the hotel hostage situation.
Okay.
And a lot of people didn't know that the French has a little, army that's there. And those troops were helping the other troops that's from the sovereign country itself to dissolve the hostage situation. Or when the whole Black Lives Matter movement with Trayvon Martin and they had people in France were doing their own protests and showing some form of solidarity towards about how important it is that Black Lives Matter. Or even with September 11th, they had the same way how we were doing everything on TV with them. They were doing
Paris,
exactly. They were doing the same exact thing. So I mean, I get the whole idea that maybe they put too much attention towards France, but then understand that the French was one of the countries that was really helping United States become what it is today when it was going through its little drama with Great Britain at the time. They sent us the Statue of Liberty. So of course they have they're kind of like brothers and sisters. I mean, they have the same colors in their flags for crying out loud. So it's like, of course this is what the U.S. is going to do. And for people that's, Black, we have to understand that the reality is this is not really our country. Yeah, we did do a lot to help make United States what it is today. And yes, there is an issue that there's still forms of oppression and that our history is being taken away from us and being hidden and not being recognized. But understand what the reality of the situation was. That's what basically my post is really about. Like,
so how do you think that's helped you build your brand?
I mean, when I do stuff like that on Facebook, I don't really use, because like a couple of my Brick Bandits friends used to be like saying like, oh, like when you do stuff like that on your Facebook, like it doesn't really help with your music. But after a while, I just kind of started. At first, I used to clean up my Facebook and take off posts, keep it music related. But then I'm like, and why should I do all this if all these people on Facebook that really interact with me know me? Like, these are like kind of like personal friends or just people that just see me around. So I want to use this more as like a personal thing and keep my Kiff like page for my music and use that to help build my brand, because I know sometimes people get caught up into the whole building of a brand, so they feel like on all social media accounts, like it all has to be geared towards a brand. And I mean, it doesn't really have to. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If I had an Instagram account and I mean I had like 10K followers or something, and then okay, probably don't want to get too personal,
Yeah.
But if it's like if you have like a Twitter account, if you have like two Twitter accounts and one is for your music and one is
Like
for
you.
yourself, then it's okay for you to be a little bit personal, because I want people to know, like, hey, like I'm just not some person just about music, I'm also I'm educated, I like political science a lot. I think that there's a problem with people here that's so used to the whole being surrounded with entertainment everywhere, and they're not paying attention to what's going on. So then when you go on Facebook and you see someone share a post about what's going on in the world, but you don't know what's going on because you're paying attention to whether it's love and hip hop or whatever it will be, right? But and then you make your own judgment about it, but it's like you can't make that unless you know everything else is going on. There's a lot that's going on.
I know, we could make a whole podcast about that. So let's kind of wind down a bit. So when you did sign up for the pre-launch community, thank you. And in that little sign up, it said, what are you currently struggling with? And you said networking and kind of getting back into the swing of it. Why has that been difficult for you, and how are you hoping to perhaps get help with that?
Well, because from that time when I took that pause where I wasn't really releasing music and I wasn't really out there like that, like I'm not really such of a party person, so you didn't really see my face at events because I was like behind closed doors, like trying to really like perfect my crafts. And then when I do come out, then it's just like, oh, okay, like this is what you've been doing this whole time. But I mean, I made the mistake of not realizing that as I do that, the consequence is that other people that are around me are still going to be networking and building their little, networking families and everything like that. And you're going to be behind. So then now, by the time now I'm coming out, everyone has their own little niches and their own little support groups and everything. So now I'm just like, I'm kind of like in the middle, like, hey, like, I'm Kiff, I'm back, remember me, so sometimes I just like the networks that I built, sometimes I have a hard time trying to figure out how to rebuild them without it seeming as though it's not really authentic, like I'm just like trying to use you, because I feel like that's what a lot of people sometimes might have in their minds that you want to do. But I mean, that's what essentially you'll end up becoming, but it's just up to me to figure out on my own how to convince you, like, this is beyond this. I want it to be where if I made it to where I made it to, you made it to where you made it to, and I have a cookout, you could come through and come meet my family, and we could all fellowship with one another, but so those are things like I always have a hard time that I'm just like, okay, I don't know,
I think the first step is admitting it, and because I feel like you're putting it out there as something you're actively trying to do, it will get to that point again where you feel like you're in the swing of things. So, and hopefully this community, because we want it to be more than just a podcast, we want to kind of create a support group for people who are in this active driving stage of their dreams. So hopefully this is something that we can also help you with too. So last question on that then. So a lot of the people who are listening to this right now are stuck. They might not be putting their dreams in drive. Speak to them. Give them some advice. How can they get their dreams out of park and shift down to drive?
Well, it's almost like, look at it like this. Let's say you got a beer belly, right?
And you like the stories, Kiff. You like the stories.
And you go to the gym and you tell them like, hey, I'm trying to lose this beer belly and everything like that. And the number one thing that any trainer is always going to tell you is consistency. Like, because you might not see the vision like as clear as you could when you first start off, but the more if you stay consistent with whatever that you're doing, results are going to occur. Just like how when we were in elementary school in first or kindergarten and we learned what 2 + 2 was. Like the reason why we did all those practice exercises, and sometimes I do it as 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 or 2 + 2 or 6 - 4, whatever it is. The reason why they did that is because as you continue to do it on a consistent basis, it'll be automatic to you. You know, 6 - 2, 4. Right? Or 2 + 2, 4. So it's all about staying consistent. That's why I feel like that's why I see personally that a lot of people don't do is stay consistent. Like, and sometimes you're gonna wake up and you're not gonna want to do it. You know, not everyone that has a passion is gonna want to do it all the time, 24/7. It can sometimes get tiring, but if you stay consistent with it, that's the only ingredient that you really need for your whole entire mix is consistency.
But don't stay consistent with just thinking about it, right?
Right. No, don't think about it. If you think about it, you're always going to end up back at step one all over again.
Stay consistent with doing it.
Right.
Okay. And then at the end of the day, Kiff, what keeps you going? Like, how do you, through those bad days, like, how do you just keep that little train tugging?
I just keep dreaming. Really. Like I really keep those visions like running through my mind every time. Or, you know, there's a song that I was working on and I was really feeling the song. Like I was feeling it. Like, and then I was like, okay, it's time to start writing for it. So since I was really feeling the song so much, I just imagined in my mind like, okay, I can imagine this being played on the radio. I started picturing myself driving in my Jetta that I had at the time. I'm just like, I could picture myself driving and like all of a sudden Power 105 comes on and then my song's being played. I'm like, I even have visions of going into my email and I'm seeing like my email accounts like filled with different people like wanting to book me or, you know, exactly. Or send me tracks. That's all I get on my SoundCloud all the time. Send me tracks. And it's like just as I keep those visions as another consistent thing I do, just keep the visions just replaying in my head all the time. And that's what honestly keeps me going because who wants to be in the same position that they've been in for so long, you know, chilling at my parents' crib, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, it's time for me to really get out. And by the way, that's another tip.
No, me too.
If you just graduated from college, I'm telling you, if you could stay home, do it.
Never mind. I don't agree. I'm just
do it. Save that money for whatever you want to do.
Are you still living at home?
Yes.
Okay, I do too, but see, I have crazy Jamaican parents. Mommy and Daddy, I love you, but y'all crazy. So, okay, let's do a lightning round. So we have this lightning round where I'll ask you, basically, we have our gears, you know, you think of a car. So I want you to tell me the first word that comes to mind when you hear the word. I guess you know what I'm trying to say, all right?
Yep.
Park.
Stop.
Reverse.
You're going back now.
Neutral.
Stop standing still.
Drive.
Keep going. Don't stop.
All right. Thank you, Kiff. This was such a great interview. You guys can check out Kiff online on his social at AOKiff, and your SoundCloud is the same thing, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. And you can definitely get links to all the stuff we talk about in the podcast by going to dreamsanddrive.com. So thank you so much, Kiff. And, you know, this is just the beginning, you guys. Just the beginning.
Just the beginning.